Welcome, one and all, to fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada. An interesting fact you might not know, Las Vegas is Spanish for the meadows. According to its Wikipedia page, the city of Las Vegas is often referred to simply as Vegas. It is the 28th most populated city in the United States and the most populated city in the state of Nevada. It is known by various names such as Sin City, the gambling capital of the world, the capital of second chances, and perhaps the most enduring of all, America's playground. But today, that playground was retrofitted into something else, a fully functional steel stage. Yes, you heard that right, a steel stage. For presidential candidates, that is. Despite all of these people having differing ideas, they are all jockeying for the same prize, the Democratic Party's presidential nomination. Let's watch and see where this will go.
Hi everyone, I'm Kristen Welker live from Las Vegas, and you're watching NBC News Now's special coverage of the MSNBC and NBC News Democratic debate.
The Big Six, the only ones to make it out of the New Hampshire primary with a verifiable polling pulse, save some few determined stragglers still lost in the sea of obscure poll numbers. And one didn't even participate in the most recent brawl up north. Yes, that's right, Michael Bloomberg. At 5'8", he is easily able to compensate his lack of physical stature with his impossibly humongous bank account, which he used extensively just to get invited to this shindig. His flagship policy: help solve the climate crisis by slashing economic support for coal production. Next on the guest list, Elizabeth Warren, the undisputed successor to the Democratic Party's slightly more liberal wing. As the senior senator from Massachusetts, Liz has had her fair share of government experience. Her biggest promise? Instituting an annual 2% wealth tax on all those whose net incomes hit at least $50 million a year. Speaking of doing away with billionaires, that brings us to our next guest, Bernie Sanders, the founder of the Our Revolution movement. Sanders is currently the single most popular senator in the United States. He is riding this wave of popularity to try and clinch the DNC's nomination for the presidency this summer. His token policy, the one and only Medicare for All plan. Next, we have Joe Biden. Formerly the Vice President of the United States under President Obama, he is easily the candidate who can boast the most name recognition. Despite this, he has been doing alarmingly poorly for an 8-year vice president. He is running on lifting up the working class with comprehensive middle-of-the-road policy. Another moderate candidate, Pete Buttigieg. A former mayor from South Bend, Indiana, he's gained unbelievable traction for a newcomer to national politics. The field of candidates who declared was historic in itself, but he seems to be no stranger to making history on his own. If he succeeds in getting the nomination, Buttigieg would be the first openly gay person to do so in American history. His trademark policy proposal, Medicare for all who want it. And last, but certainly not least, Senator Amy Klobuchar. She's yet another candidate running as a moderate. She's made surprising gains in New Hampshire after doing fairly poorly in Iowa. This jolt of energy from the Granite State seems to have resurrected the national effort to support her candidacy. She finished in a clear third place in New Hampshire and is looking to have that kind of luck, or better, again in Nevada if she can swing it. Her campaign creed: pragmatism coupled with progress. As these 6 candidates debate, they must either direct attacks on each other's campaign promises or promote their own policy plans. On the stage, it soon will become clear that this is no longer a race. It is going to be a fight for survival. There is only one rule here: hunt or be hunted, kill or be killed. Now that we're finished with the necessary preliminary pleasantries, let the games begin.
Create the political revolution this country needs. The stakes could not be higher. We cannot afford to miss the mark or to miss this moment.
I will bring this country together instead of tearing it apart.
I can't do it alone. I need your help to climb that mountain. And together we're going to beat Donald Trump.
2020 is our time to change who makes the rules.
I am running to
Vegas tonight, candidates will get 1:15 to answer each question and 45 seconds for follow-ups. Now that the stage is narrowed to 6 candidates, we encourage each of you to directly engage with each other on the issues. So let's get to our first question.
Well, all of a sudden, Bloomberg came to the realization that it had been a mistake to come to this debate. Direct engagement was the last thing he needed right now, especially after that stop and frisk video resurfaced. It was at this moment Bloomberg knew that all 5 of the others would be relentlessly coming after him tonight. They were sharks preparing to frenzy, and there was absolutely nothing he could do about it. After all, you're up there now. Best of luck, Mike. It's your move. Tension is a kind form of wording for what these candidates are probably feeling, especially the frontrunner.
On the stage tonight, Mayor Michael Bloomberg, a former Republican who spent millions of his own dollars to
Round 1. Frontrunner versus billionaire upstart. Ready, set, go.
Senator Sanders, the first question to you. Mayor Bloomberg is pitching himself as a centrist who says he's best positioned to win in November. Why is your revolution a better bet?
In order to beat Donald Trump, we're going to need the largest voter turnout.
And here we go with the attacks.
Mr. Bloomberg had policies in New York City of stop and frisk, which went after African American and Latino people in an outrageous way. That is not.
It's not looking good for Mike.
What our movement is about is bringing working class people together.
Identity politics. 1 point for Bernie.
Black and white and Latino, Native American, Asian American.
Bonus point for Liz, attempting to piggyback off a fellow campaigner.
Around an agenda that works for all of us and not just the billionaire class. And that agenda says that maybe, just maybe, we should join the rest of the industrialized world, guarantee health care to all people as a human right, raise that minimum wage to a living wage of $15 an hour, and have the guts to take on the fossil fuel industry, because their short-term profits are not more important than the future of this planet and the need to combat climate change. Those are some of the reasons we're the strongest
Another
campaign
attempt to interject.
defeat Donald Trump.
It's been
Mayor
denied.
Bloomberg, can Senator
denied.
Sanders beat President Trump? And how do you want to respond to what else he said?
Need some water, Mr. Bloomberg? Frog in your throat? Cat got your tongue?
I don't think there's any chance of...
He's looking pretty uneasy already.
You don't start out by saying, I've got 160 million people, I'm going to take away the insurance plan that they love. That's just not a ways that you go and start building the coalition that the Sanders camp thinks that they can do.
Good going, attacking the front runner, Mike. May God have mercy on your candidacy.
As the candidate, we will have Donald Trump for another 4 years.
Bonus point to Senator Warren, interjecting and forcing a new topic.
Whoever the Democratic nominee is, but understand this: Democrats take a huge risk if we just substitute one arrogant billionaire for
Attacking
another.
the old white billionaire in the room. 1 point for Warren.
This country has worked for the rich for a long time and left everyone else in the dirt. It is time to have a president who will be on the side of working families and be willing to get out there and fight for them. That is why I am in this race, and that is how I will beat Donald Trump.
She got more applause than she bargained for.
Senator Klobuchar, what do you think the path is from this stage to the White House? What works?
I think the path is a high voter turnout. I'm the one on this
Bernie
stage that
leads
had
in
the
the popular
highest
vote so
voter
far.
turnout of any state in the country when I led the ticket, as well as bringing in rural and suburban voters. And I've done that as well. And I'm the only one with the receipts to have done that in Republican congressional districts over and over again.
Showing your dependable electability in opposition districts as a transpartisan moderate. 1 point for Amy.
But I want to say this. I actually welcomed Mayor Bloomberg to the stage. I thought that he shouldn't be hiding behind his TV ads.
Joining the community chorus and shamelessly attacking the old white billionaire in the room. 1 point for Amy.
I think we need something different than Donald Trump. I don't think you look at Donald Trump and say we need someone richer in the White House.
Thank you. Mayor Bloomberg, is a lot for you to respond to. There's
Sorry, Mike. I guess it's just not your night.
opportunity.
I think we have two questions to face tonight. One is who can beat Donald Trump? And number two, who can do the job if they get into the White House? And I would argue that I am the candidate that can do exactly both of those things.
Courtesy debate point for Mike. Can't say he didn't try.
Vice President Biden, let you weigh in here.
In terms of who can beat Donald Trump, NBC did a poll yesterday. It says Joe Biden is best equipped to beat Donald Trump.
More applause than he bargained for.
That's what your poll said. And it said that I can beat him in those toss-up states, too, those states we have to win. I'm ahead by 8 points across the board.
Proven viability in key battleground states and using the phrase across the board in a sentence. 1 point for Joe.
And it said that I can beat him in those toss-up states, too, those states we have to win. I'm ahead by 8 points across the board.
He
so in terms
is
of being able to
unamused,
beat Donald Trump,
but he wisely
I'm better
buys his
positioned, according
time.
to your poll, than anybody else to beat Donald Trump. The mayor makes an interesting point. The mayor says that he has a great record, that he's done these wonderful things. The fact of the matter is he has not managed his city very, very well when he was there. He had stop and frisk,
more stop and frisk
throwing
references.
close to 5 million young black men up against the wall. And when we came along in our administration, President Obama, and said we're going to send in a moderator a mediator to stop it, he said that's unnecessary. So we're going to get a chance to talk about the mayor's record. But in terms of who is best prepared to beat Donald Trump, look at your poll and what it says.
Mayor Buttigieg, you'd like to weigh in?
Yes.
It's Pete's turn now. Time to open up a can of bona fide whoop high.
We've got to wake up as a party. We could wake up 2 weeks from today, the day after Super Tuesday, and the only candidates left standing will be Bernie Sanders and Mike Bloomberg, the two most polarizing figures on this stage. And most Americans don't see where they fit if they've got to choose between a socialist who thinks that capitalism is the root of all evil.
Bonus point for Senator Sanders. He interjected on his own behalf.
And a billionaire who thinks that money ought to be the root of all power. Let's put forward somebody who actually lives and works in a middle-class neighborhood in an industrial Midwestern city. Let's put forward somebody who's actually a Democrat. Look,
he got more applause than he bargained for.
we shouldn't have to choose between one candidate who wants to burn this party down and another candidate who wants to buy this party out. Look, we can do better.
Senator Sanders, are you polarizing?
Sanders' time to shine.
If speaking
Time to
the
feel the
needs
burn.
and the pain of a long neglected working class is polarizing, I think you got the wrong word.
It was at this moment Pete
What
knew
we are trying finally
war
to do
had just been
is to
declared,
give a voice to people
and there was nothing he could
who
do
after
about it.
45 years of work are not making a nickel more than they did 45 years ago. We are giving a voice to people who are saying we are sick and tired of billionaires like Mr. Bloomberg seeing huge expansions of their wealth while 500,000 people sleep out on the street tonight. And that's what we are saying, Pete, is maybe it's a time for the working class of this country to have a little bit of power in Washington rather than your billionaire campaign contributors.
All right, look, first of all,
I know.
of contributors,
including 26 billionaires.
The deed was done. The L had been served. As painful as it felt in that moment, it was now time to retreat and regroup. And Mike, well, we'll see where he ends up in all this soon enough. Soon enough.
Democratic presidential debate. Live from Las Vegas, Nevada.
A better bet.
He had to stop and frisk Obama administration, President Obama.
Stay tuned for the next episode of Morgan Freeman Narrates, narrated by Morgan Freeman. Not really.